guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back on the How to Build a Hot Rod project, the 1936 Pontiac sedan. Now if you haven't been catching up with on this project, then you might want to look back at some of the other videos. I'll put them in a link below. We're trying to get around this LS motor. We're having to rebuild the motor mounts. We're going to end up rebuilding this complete chassis coming up very soon. The body's ready to lift off, but before the body comes off, we need to locate where the motor is now. I've done all my measurements, scooted the motor over just a tad, scooted it forward just a tad to make sure we've got clearance for other issues. At the same time, we've mocked up the steering so that I know that I can get around the headers and the exhaust and now the motor mounts. When we get these new motor mounts built, we shouldn't have any problem at all. It'll go right in. We've already clearanced, moved the motor up and over just a little bit to clearance for the alternator. So I think we're going to be fine. Now, to bring you up to speed on the motor mounts, catch up on a couple of the other videos to where you can see where we've got up to the point where we are now. I made some cardboard templates. I'll bring you in here a little closer and show you what those are. But hey, while I'm setting up these templates to show you where we're at, hey, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. That means so much to the algorithm and how YouTube people find our channel. All I need you to do is hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. That just helps me help you better. What it does, it makes more views for the channel, which makes the channel grow. The more we grow, the more we can give away. As simple as that. It's free, guys. It's free. Now let's get back to these motor mounts. All right, I've got this in here. Let me bring you in a little closer. All right, now here are the motor mounts that we made. You can see how much motor mount we're going to lose. All of this excess down through here, we're going to lose all of that. That's going to give us room to get our steering through. Just like that. We clear the headers, we clear the motor mount, and we get right in. There we go. We get right in underneath the alternator right there to that U-joint. Now this is just a temporary. I've done all this in other videos and I can show you where all that is. Tell you more about it in those videos, but we don't want to backpedal. We want to keep moving forward. So now we're going to take this apart. Now see, we've got contours and stuff in all of these parts that we got to put in later, just to give it some character. Now you can do these straight if you wanted to, but I talked more about that in the other videos where we made these templates, how curves help accent, makes it look like it's more professional, and it gives it a little bit more detail. All right, so from here, I've got a piece of scrap steel, and I'll have to check and see what this is. It's pretty thick. It's a lot thicker than that motor mount right there. But I've already scribed out a rough cut. We're going to rough cut out a pair of our templates. Then we got enough over here to where we can cut the back side. Flatten that out, and it's going to barely be enough to cut that, and then we can put our arc in it. Then I've got to go and find another piece of scrap the same size so we can do the other side. Now this may be a little overkill, but that's what I've got, and that's what we're going to use. Now don't worry about this rust right here. That's just surface rust. That'll all come off and look really good. I promise you. I promise you. Don't throw away any of this stuff, guys. All right, so you can see I've got the motor mount halves cut out, and I gave it a little bit of a bend in it to give it a little bit of character like we talked about. And of course the steel ones fit just a little different than the cardboard ones because the cardboard ones can be manipulated a little bit more. But that's what we're going to do right there. It'll stay there for a second. Yes, they will be solid mounts. That's no problem. I put solid mounts on most of the stuff that I do, and I never have any vibration problems. Not to say that you might not, but this is going to be just fine and dandy. It'll run great. All of my cars have got solid mounts. So let's get finished to the next step. All right, so you saw where I marked these out and cut these out of a piece of steel that I had. And I know you see that this rust is rust, but trust me, it's just surface rust. I want to show you something about this steel though. And it took me a minute to remember where I got it from. And you know, we don't throw away anything, but this was part of something that I got that I know was imported. And I cannot remember exactly what it was, but I saved the piece of steel thinking, yeah, one day I'll make some brackets out of it. But let me show you something. After I spent all the time cutting those out of the same piece of steel, look at the thickness is what I'm going to try to show you. You never know this imported junk right here. Look at that. Look how thin. All right, so this is 1/4 inch. This right here mics down to, less than a 1/16. I mean, the center of this right here is almost like 10 gauge. Here's a piece of the part that I cut it out of. Look how thick it is on the edge. And look how thin it gets in the middle. And then it gets thick again. So you think you've got the same type of material on both ends until you start cutting into it. And I remember the saw speeding up, thinking right over here, thinking I really need to change my blade. And right here, no, I don't. It's cutting pretty good now. Over here, it's like, yeah, I really need to change my blade because it's like twice as thick. So guys, even though it's scrap, it's still scrap. So anyway, I went over to my American steel pile. And look at there. I'm going to cut the same brackets back out of this, but this is a piece of US steel, 1/4 inch plate. All right, let's remake these brackets. All right, so we laid out some die on the 1/4 inch plate and scribed our lines that you can see right there. And we've got one pair cut out already. And they are the same thickness all the way around. And they are the same thickness all the way around, thanks to Metal Supermart. All right, so if you can remember, we want to try to put a curve into these. And I marked a center line where I want the curve to start, right here. And we're going to transfer this to the halves of the motor mounts. So right now, I've got a right and a left. One's got die on it from when we outlined them to cut them out, and the other one don't. That way, we know that we need to curve one way and curve the other one the other way. So let's try to see what we can do with this without screwing it up too much. All right, let's not go too far. One's a little bit more than the other. Let's go see what they look like. Now these are a little thicker than the cardboard, so they're hitting inside right there. And if we need to modify this right here, we probably will. Cardboard moves a lot more than this does, so we may leave it about where we've got it now and make us a new template for the top. I may have had them. Dadgummit. Okay, I got everything cut and sitting where I want it, and we'll run the bead right up the edge right there. Nice, big, hot, thick bead. Probably TIG it in, and then we'll smooth the edges over to where it'll be smooth all the way up and down. Of course, there'll be some body work to do on the sides where I had to use the hammer to dent it in, and not dent it in, but make the contour. that's all okay. Everything gets slicked. So after this, we'll have to put a back to it. We'll do that once the motor's out, and then we'll put a gusset on the back that contours it and goes down to the frame. Even though we've got the side supports that I cut down, all we have to do is make sure that we have plenty of room to get the steering to go through. And that'll give us a nice custom look. Now this whole complete chassis is going to get done. I'll use the stock frame on this one, weld up all the holes, dress the frame. All of this stuff right here will be gone. It'll look like, man, it'll look like it's one piece of melted metal in an art sculpture. And then the motor, of course, will be detailed and painted and polished and tricked out. But anyway, today we're working on the motor mounts. Why are we doing this? Because right now is our really only good chance to make sure that we have proper motor mounts that'll hold and support the motor in the place that it's in right now and allow the steering to go through. We do all of this now so that when the car goes back together, everything will be fitted, finished, and perfect. So let's get this done so we can get this body off and start on the firewall. All right, so now that you see them in place, I'm going to take it apart and show you each individual piece that I had to do. You can see the curvature of what we would call the back of the mount. The back as in the strong part of the mount. Here's one of the sides. There's the other side. Now this is just the outside portion. There'll be a under the side portion, like we said, and there'll be gussets and stuff that hold it in, and it will be a permanent mount. It won't move anywhere. It'll be part of the frame, and then the motor itself will be bolted right to it. All right, the good news is that the motor mount fits on this side just as good as it fits on the other side. We've got room where we've made a notch in the frame to allow for the air conditioning lines to go in. And of course, this top will be pulled up just a little bit, pulled in together, but I had it that way and it fell just when I hit the record button. But anyway, there is the motor mount on the passenger side of the car. So now let's duplicate this and get it ready to go for side number 2. All right, so there we go. It's tacked in. It's the sides are welded in on the inside where I could only get to it now, and on the back of the motor mount plate that we put up there. So the rest of this motor mount, guys, will get cut out, all this stuff on the bottom. But right now, that is what's holding the motor up, with the help of the new motor mount, of course. So none of that should change once we cut all this old stuff out. We'll do that when we pull the motor out, when we can get to it. I need to remove the header, get the TIG out, TIG up the seams, TIG up the base where I've got it tacked in. So guys, thanks for coming out in the shop with me today. I always need your help. Thanks for following along on the How to Build a Hot Rod project, the 1936 Pontiac. Lots of other cool videos on the channel. I really am looking for some support right now. If there's any way you could subscribe, I'd appreciate it. We want to try to hit the 10,000 mark by the end of the year. That's about 1,500 new subscribers. It means a lot to me if you just do that real small, quick thing by hitting that subscribe button. Lots of you guys are watching over and over and over every month, but only about 10% actually hit that subscribe button. Just think what the channel would do if 50% of you guys subscribed that watched. Hey, we'd be doing really, really good. But we are doing good, and I appreciate every bit that you do watching and supporting the channel. But anyway, hope you got something out of this. We're gonna knock the other side out real quick, and then we're ready to pull the body off of this thing and pull the motor and trans out and get everything finished up and start building this chassis. Check out the other videos where we've narrowed the rear end, where we've replaced all the wood in this car with steel, and how we built the doors from scratch. Anyway, a lot more to come. Eventually, we'll get to the point to where we're really doing some pretty stuff on this car instead of doing the fabrication work, and that's something that you guys are always looking forward to. So as always, be safe out in the shop. Don't do what I do. Do what I'm trying to tell you to do. Anyway, get out in the garage and go build something. See you guys in the next episode. Spanky's gone.